Hey everyone, I'm Jesse. I'm the product specialist for Mod Devices since about 4.5 years. And today I'm here to give you a little demo of this product over here, the Mod Duo X. Basically this device, it's a hardware plug-in host. It's a standalone device with a bunch of I.O.s. So we have audio I.O. plus a CV I.O. Inputs on one side, audio outs and headphone outs, CV outs on the other side, and on the back we have regular DIN MIDI, a port to connect to the computer. We have a USB host port, and we have a port for our own peripherals called control chain. They give you a bit of extra info. So what are we going to do today? I'm going to basically run you through a couple of setups that involve the Duo X. We'll start with a very simple one, and then we'll get into a slightly more complicated one. Let's get it going. Yeah. So the first setup that we'll talk about is this one here. So basically we have the Innovation circuit running just with audio into the Duo X that's over here. And on the Duo X you should be able to see the web interface, and the web interface will show you the signal chain. So basically I have the audio coming in, running through a filter, going through a compressor, through again through another compressor to the output, and there's also a send chain enabled here for a delay, the GAFA. So let's just have a quick look, see what it sounds like. Pretty cool, right? Now let's imagine you would like to MIDI sync this. So let's first plug in our MIDI from the output of the circuit, and it's plugged in there. Now we'll enable syncing to a MIDI clock through the web interface, and we'll change the addressing type of our time parameter here to not be on a knob, but to be synchronized and on an endless encoder. So now from the endless encoder on the device, we can change the ratio, the note subdivision, and from the device we have control over the clock. Just demonstrate. And perfectly in sync. Pretty awesome, but that's not the only thing it can do, of course. Because it's a hardware plugin host, it can run a multitude of different effects, such as delays, chorus, reverbs, but we also have support for synthesizers. So what I'll do now is quickly load a different pedal board, just to show you some synthesizer capabilities of the device. And we're loaded. So over here, I have a synth patch running on the device, which uses some FM synthesis. I also have, on the web interface, some avocados over here. It's the name of this awesome plugin. It's a stutter glitch effect. And I have it on 3 different frequency bands. I have them with 3 different times. I'm also running the synth through a chorus, and the stutters are going through some shimmer reverb to the output. So it sounds something like this. Now let's connect some audio. So that's just one example, of course. We have many more synths. I can just quickly show you one other one, which is using more sample-based synthesis mechanisms. So this one uses more of like a kalimba, chromatic percussion type sound, fed through the recycle, which is a pretty wild device. Let me just show you what it sounds like when I maximize the mix. Of course, you can create any kind of synth signal chain that you desire. Now, let's replug a bit. So what I'll do is I'll hook up the MIDI out from the Novation circuit to this mono station here. So let's start with that. And afterwards, I'll feed the MIDI through from the mono station back into the Duo X. Now let's quickly load a pedal board that's suitable for that. And we'll jump to the special pedal board for that. Now, what is going on in this pedal board? Basically, we have two completely independent signal chains, which I, of course, need to replug the audio for. And the top chain that you see here, it's the chain that processes the circuit. So not a lot goes on here. We're just running through a gain plugin, through another gain plugin, through a mixer plugin to the output. But we're also tapping off this little low-pass filter signal from there. I'll get to that in a bit. So what's happening on the circuit mono station here, we are running it through a shimmer reverb, which is then running through a compressor. And this compressor has a sidechain input. So that's where this filter comes in, actually. The filter takes out all the high frequencies from the Novation circuit and feeds the remaining parts into the sidechain input. Therefore, we can basically sidechain compress the circuit mono station through the kick drum on the Novation circuit. Let's see what it sounds like. And of course, we can tweak it. We can tweak the attack of the sidechain. Make it fast. We can tweak the release. Make the compression more intense. Change the threshold. Shorten the release again. Add a bit of attack. Decrease the ratio again. And of course we can tweak the sound of the mono station as well. It's running through a synth, so add through a shimmer reverb. Let's mute the kick. Instant party, I would say. Of course, you can do many other things. This is not the only plugin we have with the sidechain input. We also have, for example, a filter that has the capability of that. But let's actually expand on this pedal board a bit. Let's add a chorus to the synth, just to see what it sounds like. So we go to the plugin drawer in the bottom of the web interface. We pick an effect. Let's go with the chorus flanger. We just drag a cable into it. And voila. Now it's on there. We just disable the sidechain. And zoom in on the chorus flanger. Let's increase the depth a bit, and the rate. contour. Kind of like that, changing the contour. So let's add an LFO to that. Let's open our control voltage plugins, grab an LFO. Then what we also want to grab is the parameter modulation plugin. So what we can do is we can patch the LFO into this plugin. And now for the very cool feature, we can enable this port as a mapping destination. So let's call this LFO. Now we can address the LFO to this parameter here by going to CV and selecting our newly created LFO. Done. So let me just quickly grab these here, get them in screen. Ooh. And what we should be able to do now is change the parameter value here to change the contour, as you should also be able to see on the chorus flanger interface. But we can also change the modulation depth, which, as you should see, modulates it back and forth. Now, let's press play, hear what it sounds like. Increase the parameter frequency a bit. Let's adjust the frequency actually. Change the wave shape, of course. Let's make it a sawtooth up. And of course, we can synchronize this as well to a MIDI clock. Let's put this on a knob and put this to start on 16th notes. But of course, make it slower. Even slower. Of course, this is just the most basic example of modulating a parameter with a CV signal. But this feature really brings our product to a quite high level of depth. Just to give some examples of what else is out there in the CV world, there are envelopes that we could trigger. There are voltage-controlled filters, oscillators. We have something that turns audio into control voltage. So we have what else do I see here? We have something that turns a regular value into an absolute value, so no negative values allowed. We can get a CV clock, we can gate it, we can split the ranges, we can round the values, we have MIDI to control voltage translators, all sorts of stuff. There are logic operators, so you could create logical chains. You can really go nuts with this. And it really opens up even the most basic of plugins to become something very cool. So I think myself that is very exciting. I hope you guys think the same. So what else? Did we get any questions from the people in the live stream until now? Anything that's worth it? Show mapping of control. All right, so let's do a simple control mapping and do that from now. So let's actually address the controls of the CV parameter modulation to start like that. So we have this plugin here and we have two parameters. Let's say we want to move the modulation depth from the device. So we press on this cogwheel, then we have the modulation depth, press on the sliders, and now we choose what we would like to address it to. So we can address it to the device, which brings up the device actuators to select from. We can click MIDI, which allows you to MIDI learn the message. You can click control chain, so any device connected to this Ethernet port on the back, the control chain port, will allow you to change with that. And of course with CV signals. So we have the CV inputs, we have the expression pedal, or any signal that we enable. So let's address it to the device. Let's put it on page 1, knob 3. And now let's also do the same for the parameter value. So the parameter value, so the starting point, we can put it on page 1, knob 4. So right now, I can tweak them from here, and you should see them change in the web interface as well. So now, in an audio demo, of course. Of course, what's also interesting to map is the waveform of the LFO. So let's do that. Because it's a list, we can address it to the encoders, to the buttons, or to button groups. Let's do it to a button. Now we can cycle through the shapes from the device. And of course, one very important thing is I'm doing this demo right now with a computer connected, just so I can show you guys what's going on. But something to not forget is I could simply unplug the USB cable, take it with me, and I don't even need a computer. So the computer is basically used to set up the patches. Once you're done, just disconnect the computer, all good, and take the device with you and perform with it on the stage. I think that is all we have time for today, or are there any further questions from the community? Nothing left? Then we can do something exciting still. Maybe do something crazy. Is there still time to do something crazy? Yes. Okay, let's do something crazy. So let's see. What would be cool to do? Let's maybe show something that is quite practical. So instead of doing the sidechain based on an audio signal from the circuit, I can also actually use the MIDI signal from the circuit by just getting a MIDI channel filter. The circuit outputs drum signals on channel 10, so I'll just set this to channel 10. Then I'll grab a very basic synthesizer plugin. Let's go for the AM synth. Connect that up. And instead of connecting the low pass filter here, we just connect the AM synth. So this allows us to actually control the sidechain from an external synth. Based on the triggers from this device here. So my web interface is just reloading briefly. That teaches us to not run development builds during a live stream. Okay, so unfortunately I cannot show this to you right now because we're running out of time, but I would just like to state that the standalone unit is very cool. Take it with you to a stage, use it with any kind of electronic devices, it takes any kind of inputs. So connect it to line levels, connect it to guitars if you'd like, take it with you as your guitar or bass amplifier simulation station. Throw a kalimba in there, plug in a microphone. It should be ready for any kind of signal level, provided that the mic is dynamic. And yeah, hope to see you join the community. In case you weren't aware yet, it is possible to schedule one-on-one sessions as well through Calendly. There should be details on the Synthesthesia page. Thank you.